has been a run.
Hey, Kendall, I think it's 4 o'clock. We appear to have a quorum, although we will do a roll call in a moment. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. And first of all, I want to welcome everybody. It's just good to see your faces. I'm sorry we're not able to get together and shake a hand or give a hug, but that's the way of the world at this moment. I seem to be on Zoom constantly. This is my 3rd meeting today on Zoom, so it's taken over our world.
Dave, I also want to warmly welcome all of our guests that are joining us today. Erica, I hope you clicked into that YouTube. Thank you for viewing today, and thank you for your interest in the Education Alliance and our mission, what we do. It means a lot to us.
Okay, thank you for that. I also wanted to let you know that, of course, this is a virtual meeting, so it's a little different. But anyone can submit a public comment throughout the meeting by posting to our website, educationalliance@washoeschools.net. And those emails will be forwarded to the board for consideration. They'll be included in part of the public record. So they'll not be read into the record at this point, but the names of those submitting will be read. And throughout the meeting today, I will be asking if there's any public comment, just so you know. I also want to let you know we're going to follow Robert's Rules of Order today. We're going to try to keep this as smooth as possible. So the topic will be introduced as we come to it with an explanation of what that subject is. And then we will ask for a motion and a second. At that point, we'll have a full discussion on the motion and then ultimately a vote on that. So that's how we will operate today. So I'd like to ask Eric, our secretary, to do roll call.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to run through the list. Nathan Anderson.
I'm here.
All right. And I do see a lot of your video screens. I know muting might take a second. Anyway, I was looking at the screens to mark some of these off. Dave Bianchi.
Here.
All right. Deborah Beiersdorf.
Here.
Brent Boyton.
Virtually here.
Melissa Burnham.
Here.
Right. Joe Klein.
Here.
Melissa Dedman.
Here.
Bill Fong. I believe he'll be absent today. Mariluz Garcia.
Here.
Lauren Garfinkel.
Here.
Kendall Inskip.
Here.
Landon Miller.
Present.
Chris Morgan.
Here.
Charles Plasias.
Present.
All right. Ann Silver. I believe she'll be absent. Michelle Sanchez Bickley. I believe she'll be absent as well. Myself, Eric Sheets here. Jill Tolles.
I'm here.
All right. I do want to say real fast, Jill, thank you so much. I've been watching church stuff and seeing you on there. You're doing great things in the community.
Thank you.
Well, I believe representing Ann Silver is Christine Brown.
There we go. Okay. All right. Sir, you have a quorum.
Dave, you're muted.
But no voice. You have a quorum, but no voice.
You're muted.
Oh, you're
Dave?
still muted, Dave.
Dave, you're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Actually,
Okay.
I think he's doing
start
that
over.
else skit with us.
Thank you for
Yes,
that
with our
reminder.
heads.
I should have a sheet up here, mute, unmute. Which reminds me, we should try to mute while we're not talking. It helps in the clarity of the other speakers. So anyway, I would like to have an action to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to? Jill Tolles is moved to adopt,
Seconded.
and Joe seconding. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted. Thank you very much. And now we'll move to 2.01, which is again, I'll ask if there's any public comments. Have we received any that we're aware of? Okay, moving on.
Dave,
Uh,
Dave, can you let Sarah address? Sarah's
We
gonna
have no
address-
public comments at this time.
Okay, Sarah's our public comment watcher. Okay, thanks, Sarah. And we submitted the minutes of January 27th, 2020. Again, we will ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
This is Brent. I move that we approve the minutes of January 27th.
Thank you, Brent. Is there a second?
Hi, this is Landon, and I will second it.
Thank you, Landon. So it's
Yep.
been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we're moving along. Thank you very much. 2.02, this is a great one. This is a consideration and approval of new officers for 2021. So Kendall, would you like to go through that list just to clarify who is being nominated?
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to thank you all for really stepping up and leading our organization into the future. For all those that have taken the leadership role, as uncertain as the future looks right now, I just like to applaud you all. It's times like these in our crazy world that we really do need to work together to create a place that we can share our ideas freely, with respect, kindness, and with nimble adaptability. And I am so heartened and optimistic because of each one of you. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Do I need to share the screen with the development report? I submitted a development report to you. It is available on public with board recommendations to include. Let me just bring it up for you. I think it might be easier than me reading everything off. And forgive me for.
You get to practice sharing the screen.
Yeah, let's see. Yay. Okay, can you all see that? All right, so here is our board development report, which I submit to the board every year at this time at our annual meeting in June, our required meeting to elect our officers. Our current board composition includes 19, including the 3 permanent representatives, which is from the University, the Washoe County School District, as well as TMCC, Truckee Meadows Community College. It outlines the 12 private sector representatives and 7 public sector representatives, which is, as our bylaws read, we are striving with every effort to comprise our board of a majority of private sector businesses, organizations, and nonprofit organizations. Our diversity is 9 women, 10 men, and 3 minorities at this time. But I am putting forward to you recommendations that I've accumulated and put in this report from input from yourselves, as well as keeping in mind the number and qualifications of our directors. As I mentioned, striving for a majority of reps from the private sector, and then also our recruitment succession planning and industry specific, our high needs industries. It's very important to have those voices on our board. So my recommendation is that we include, and we'll have a separate agenda item for our wonderful Christine Brown from the Reno Sparks Chamber taking over Ann Silver's position. But with the recommendations that I'm making in this meeting is that our membership for 2021 will be 17, including the 3 permanent educational representatives. It will look like this: 11 private sector representatives, 6 public sector representatives. Our diversity will be 10 women and 7 men and 2 minorities. I also made a note on this report that we have some members who have moved or pulled off of the board in order to live their lives. And so we do have 4 additional open terms if we should consider them in the future. But my recommendation is to look at our slate of officers. These are my recommended officers according to our conversations. For 2021, Eric Sheets, President. Melissa Dedman, Vice President. Lauren Garfinkel, Secretary. Chris Morgan, Treasurer. Past President, of course, Dave Bianchi. Our P16 Advocacy Liaison and Co-Chair, Melissa Burnham. Run for Education Liaison, Charles Pasillas. Member at Large, Mary Luz Garcia and Landon Miller, new. And then, of course, our permanent members there. I want to thank you all for your leadership, and that's my report.
Thank you, Kendall. I will now accept a motion to approve the slate of officers.
Dave, this is Melissa Burnham.
Go ahead, Melissa.
I move that the Board of Directors approves the slate of officers for 2020-2021.
Thank you, Melissa. Is there a second?
Second, Lauren Garfinkel.
Okay, Lauren Garfinkel has seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, congratulations to the new slate of officers. I think it's a great team. I'm looking forward to working with you as a past president.
You're here. Thank you again for your leadership.
Okay, so
Dave.
let's move on. We have, speaking of Board of Directors, 2.03, we have a new person who we need to consider and approve. That's Christine Brown, to Education Alliance Board of Directors. She'll be completing Ann Silver's term and ending on June 30, 2024. So again, is there any public comment to date? Anything, Sarah, anything public comments?
We have nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. I will now then accept a motion to approve Christine Brown.
Dave, I'd like to make that motion. I move that the Board of Directors approves Christine Brown to the Board of Directors and with a term ending June 30th, 2024.
Okay, Eric Sheets has moved to approve Christine Brown. Is there a second?
Dave, this is Mary Luz Garcia. I second the motion.
Thank you, Mary Luz. Appreciate that. So Mary Luz Garcia seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It appears, Christine, that you've been approved.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Welcome, welcome, Christine.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. We look forward to finally meeting you in person at some point.
Yes, definitely. Hopefully sooner than later.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So I think we're down to 2.04, discussion and approval, actually acceptance, not approval, of the financial report. And so I'd like Melissa Dedman, can you give that report, please?
Absolutely, Dave. So that I can present some of the highlights and that we can hold any additional discussion that the board would like. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that the Board of Directors accepts the financial report from July 1, 2019 through March 31st, 2020. And again, if seconded, I will present some of the highlights during the discussion.
I'll second that. This is Chris Morgan.
Thank you, Chris.
Great, thank you guys. So if I can share my screen so that we can see the financials. give it a go here. Is everyone able to see that okay?
I'm actually
Yeah.
sharing my screen.
Might
with
make
this.
it a little
Is that
bigger.
helpful?
Oh, okay. As long as you can see the financials, if Kendall wants to beat me to the screen, that's totally fine with me.
I think only because Jonathan, the IT guru, helped me out here. So if that's helpful to you.
Totally fine. Okay, so I'm on the first page of the financials. And just a reminder, this first page here simply provides an overview of all the accounts associated with the Education Alliance. The detailed transactions come out of the district's Business Plus program. And I'm happy to report that all of those detailed transactions matches the expenditures that are reported on this overview sheet and on the additional sheets as we look a little bit deeper into each of those accounts. So just as a reminder, because I know we don't look at the financials too often, the Education Alliance accounts, that reflects the Run for Education, contributions that we receive from our partners in ed, a small account for the P16 Council, any administrative costs collected on the run and other events, as well as some unrestricted donations and a contingency fund. The Washoe County School District accounts are mostly salaries and benefits, but there are some services and supplies associated with those accounts. And then of course the in-kind donation reflects the time and material donations to the run, Teachers Warehouse, the data profile, etc. from the community. So if we go to that second page, and I see that Kendall already has it up on the screen, thank you so much. These are the Education Alliance accounts, again, consisting of the Run, P16, contingency, unrestricted donation, administrative costs, and partners in education. And since the beginning of the fiscal year, we had carried over a pretty hefty balance, but we have spent that down by almost $100,000. Of particular note, as a result of last year's run, $107,000 went out to our schools. We also got some sizable contributions during that run and other times of the year of $2,500 or more by Nevada Energy, Panasonic, Nevada Building Construction, Shields, and Van Wert. And then from our partner in education, Renown, they donated $25,000. $5,000 each went to Libby Booth School, Damani Ranch, Double Diamond, Trainer, and Hug. Finally, our administrative costs, those primarily reflect what we collect, a 5% collect on flow through from Pro Sports Levy. And we'll take a look at that in more detail in a little bit later. So any questions here on our Education Alliance accounts? All right, Kendall, if we'd go to the next set of accounts, the Washoe County School District accounts. Not too much to report here because, as mentioned, this mostly reflects salary and benefits for the three positions associated with the Education Alliance. But we will see later on in the agenda, we'll present a proposal to increase our secretary position to 30 hours a week. So Kendall, if you go to the next account here, our, let's see, this is our in-kind donations. So not a ton of activity since, of course, we've been in this coronavirus activity shutdown here. So for example, the dollar amount for the run didn't change from the previous quarter due to that inactivity. But the amounts on this page have been updated to reflect those contributions from our partners in education, as well as some administrative donation towards, tax prep and moving office space or providing office space to our Ed Alliance staff.
As well as the principal for the day, for the half-day contributions, and that would be listed under that first Partners in Ed. So that would be the Chamber and Renown for their great space, their lunch, the wine, and that sort of thing is reflected there as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And then to our Levy Pro Sports. Ooh, that one's really tough to see. But the Ed Alliance has collected a little bit over $3,000 in administrative costs from the little over $57,000 through to schools from Levy Pro Sports. And that is my report. Is there any further discussion?
Any questions? Well, Melissa, you must have done a great job of explaining that. That's great.
I want that script, Melissa.
So hearing no questions or discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of accepting the financials, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much, Melissa. Great report. As you were giving that report, I saw another box pop up, and all it says is Superintendent. So there must be a new person on the screen. So we welcome the Superintendent of Washoe County School District, and we are so pleased that you're doing that job. And just a couple of things that you decisions you've made, which we're very pleased about. You named Deborah Bryersdorf as the assistant or deputy superintendent, and then you turned around and said she's also going to continue as the representative for Washoe County School District on the Education Alliance Board. A wise decision. All right.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And it's so nice to see all these beautiful, handsome, friendly faces. Thank you.
We, our hearts go out to you, I'll tell you. It's a tough time.
Okay. It is, but we will get through it. We are a dynamic team, and then the Education Alliance is right there with us as always for our partners. So thank you so much for everything that you all have done. Truly, truly. Thank you. You're amazing.
Got it. We're here to help.
All right. Sarah, any public comments coming in?
We have none at this time.
Thank you. All right, so the next item also is a financial item, and this is 2.05, discussion approval of a budget request to increase the secretary's hours to 30 hours per week. So I'm going to let Kendall talk about this a moment, and then I will accept a motion on that. So Kendall?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again just to make it easy for our discussion. As you have, I know you probably all have had an opportunity to take a look at both the justification page for the proposal to utilize Education Alliance reserve funding in the amount of $18,825 to support an additional 10 hours of work week by the Secretary of the Education Alliance. That would bring that position up to 30 hours. She's currently at 20 hours in order to accomplish the duties outlined for the period of the next fiscal year, July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2021. And we know that there has been a major impact on our ability to fundraise and focus on our mission and working with partners in education and bringing funding into the district with that reduction from 40 to 20 hours per week. So we know that we're trying to make up for that loss of support. Although I would like to just really congratulate my team, Brittany Haggerty and Sarah, for kicking in. We were also very fortunate to receive a grant from the University Career Studio. It's the PAC Internship Grant Program. We've applied for it for a couple of years. And a wonderful intern I know that you all met, Noah Walls, who really did step up and help us in supporting us. But really there's still an opportunity here for additional work. And I open it to your conversation. The next page here of that proposal is kind of the breakdown of what that looks like. Currently, the district generously provides $23,263 toward that position at 20 hours. I had an HR expert do some number crunching to find out what we can do to increase these hours. What does it look like when we add health and when we add other benefits and so forth? And the proposal that we came up with was 260 days a year, 30 hours a week, which leaves us with 18,825. And so for the next year, I would like you to consider utilizing Ed Alliance reserve funding, private funding that we have accumulated from admin fees and other activities to support this increase in hours. And you'll see the balance in the accounts as of May 31, which is actually more current than the financials we just approved, but you can go back and look at those financials as well. But what we've done here is we've allocated a certain amount of work for these areas, the Run for Education, the activities that happen just in the office, the daily clerical support that has to happen, payables. We also, as you know, oversee the Redfield Community Outreach Program with 3 additional employees funded by the Redfield Foundation. And there's a lot of paperwork that happens with that program. As well, we have our Partners in Education activities, such as different grants that we're getting for Partners in Education, managing that PAC intern paperwork that is involved. And we kind of estimated the percentage of work allocated, based it, took out the run budget. We took out some funding that's already designated because we cannot touch restricted funding. So then what we did is we have a reserve balance here in this column with it broken down to meet that $18,825. These accounts and this funding from these accounts would be utilized to bring that forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I will accept a motion approving that budget increase. So can I receive a motion, please?
Joe Klein, I'll make the motion. I move that the Board of Directors approves the budget request to increase secretary hours to 30 per week.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
Melissa Dedman, I'll second.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, let's open it up to questions and discussion.
This is Brent. I would just like to say that anecdotally, we have all known of the need. I appreciate the way this is presented with the rationale behind it, the demonstration of where the money would come from. And I think it's a very convincing case.
Thank you, Brent. Anyone else?
This is Natha. I agree with what Brent's saying. Melissa, as treasurer, what's your take on it? Or anybody from the executive committee, what your thought process is at this time? Because this is coming from the executive committee, isn't it? Or
correct.
So if you could just, or did Kendall kind of summarize everything that you guys would have brought up?
Yes, Natha, so this was brought up on 3 separate occasions. One during the finance review team, to take a look at the finances, make sure, one, that we had appropriate funds to even cover this. It was discussed there. It was also discussed at exec. And then, Kendall presented a pretty thorough rationale and breakdown of where the funds were coming and what they would be used for. I know some of the questions asked were, because of the run and its uncertainty this year. And even when the run was a certain event, would this position have enough to do outside of the run to justify the hours? And that was demonstrated by Kendall and Brittany, to my satisfaction anyway. I can't speak for others, but I feel supportive of this.
Great, because that was exactly where my question was going to be headed next, was since we're not sure about the Run for Education and the executive committee's decision-making discussion, which I think goes into a much deeper dive of some of the details. I mean, we don't need to get into the weeds in this body. Is there enough work? Your answer pretty much summarized that yes, there is. So thank you very much.
I'd like to add to that as well. This is Eric Sheets. From my understanding, hearing it from Debbie, from Krista, and others, Sarah has been a tremendous worker and somebody that is a major asset to us. And so A, we want to make sure we retain her, but B, we also want to try to support the school district how we can in fundraising and other methods. And I think her assistance allows us the best opportunity to do that. It is going to be difficult in this next year, especially considering what's going on right now. But I think that's even more reason why we need capable people with us.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Anybody else?
I just wanted to mention that Eric, you made the good point. We want to be able to, pivot to new activities, and we want to be ready for what the future holds. And there's going to be quite a bit of work involved in that. And so, even with the change in the kind of the future, we don't have a crystal ball, but I think it's very important to utilize the resources that we have on staff in the best possible way that we can.
It is a one-year commitment, and we'll revisit that before the end of the year. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, it passes. Thank you very much, and I think that's going to be a real positive thing for this organization. Okay, thank you very much. And now we move to, as we already started, a discussion on the Run for Education and the process and whether or not we can continue to go forward. So is Kendall, are you going to discuss this, or Charles?
Actually, I'll take this one. So there has been discussion on the Run for Education, and but we've been reluctant to make any decisions as we didn't want to get ahead of anything that the school district would decide, and as far as safety measures and all that. And we've had to delay quite a while, and regardless of what happens going forward with the school district, there's not enough time really for us to logistically put this run together in the way that it was. But I'd move that the board of directors provides an authorization to Ken, the executive director, to look at possible alternatives for the Run to Education.
Just to verify, I think you brought forward a motion to postpone the 2020 Run for Education. If so, I'd like to second that, but I just want to make sure that that's what I heard correctly.
That's not exactly what I said. I mean, I would make a move that we postpone it the way it currently is, but leave open an option to explore other options. And
explore some virtual things.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so Charles, you can go ahead and make a motion on the.
I'll make a move to postpone the Run for Education as it currently operates.
Okay,
you want to add, create an exploratory committee to look at an alternative as well, or is that a separate motion?
I would take opinions on that. We haven't really talked.
I would suggest that's two separate items.
Okay, sounds good.
So
move to postpone the Run for Education for the year 2020.
I'll second that, Eric.
Okay, Eric, thank you. All right, now more discussion and comments.
Yeah, so this is Landon for the record here. And one thing that I've kind of seen us really excel in is finding the need where the need is. And one thing that we haven't really brought up yet so far this board meeting was the laptop drive that we did for students here in the school district. And I think it was one of those situations where we had no idea that it was coming, but we saw the need, we took the role and we jumped in. to help out. And I think that there might be more opportunities like that moving forward, come September, come October, come August, where maybe we're not pushing something that has so much to do with physical education, but we might be able to really excel and help our students in a different way, whether it's technology or maybe it might be a transportation issue. Maybe there's still a lot of unknowns out there, but one thing that I've, just from my experience over the last several months working with ITS Logistics and Kendall and all that, is, you know, we were pretty good at finding the need and executing it and getting the logistics down and working with our community partners. So I think that whether or not it's going to be some sort of physical education initiative or something different, I know that there will probably be some sort of opportunity that we can jump in and help out on.
Thank you, Landon. Other comments or questions?
So this is Natha, and I'm just, I love the Run for Education, and I know that many of our educators and our kids do as well, but there are concerns with having an event of that size with everything going on. And so I just think it's smarter for us to kind of do what Landon was talking about or alluding to, which is to concentrate instead of on the physical education aspect, concentrate instead on the technology aspect or other ways that we as a community can come together as part to support the school district and our educators and our kids, because we continue to have a huge divide when it comes to technology, just as we have a huge divide when it comes to physical education capabilities amongst our different schools. But this way, maybe concentrate instead on doing some different activities. Run for Education, let it be, I don't know, technology, I don't know what sort of a mouse for education or something. Somehow or another connect it back to the computer world instead. I just think that would take into account the safety issues, but then also still allow for the sponsors, which is, I think, where a large amount of the money comes from, to still be able to say, look what we've done for our community and look how we've come together as a community. It's just a thought.
Thank you, Natha. And I did suggest, along the lines of what Charles was talking about also, that we have a task force. We develop a task force to look at alternatives, look at all of the aspects of what may or may not happen in the near future. So, so that will be put together. I don't think we needed a motion on that. I think that's just something we can do. Other comments or questions?
This is Brent. I sense the feeling on the part of the group to do something, and I would kind of ask for everyone's clarification. Voting against having the run this year does not mean that we are not willing to do something in another form that raises money for another purpose.
That's absolutely correct. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Well, I guess my only thought would be, I think this is the right thing to do, and I'm glad we're looking at alternatives. I think that I love the technology aspect. It's a huge need. I do wonder whether there's something we can think about as well along the physical education standpoint, particularly given potentially how little physical activity some of our kids are getting now. So I don't know whether my wife is taking Zoom ballet classes. Like, are there some things that we can do to get kids moving from a distance as well? So whatever committee, happy to help. I think thinking about those beyond, what else can we do from a physical standpoint as well, given we're losing this opportunity?
Yeah, so yeah, anybody wants to volunteer for that task force, let Kendall know, and we'll put you to work. Yep. So
I can just make one comment, Dave. You know, the whole mission of the run is the message is that we care about the health and safety of our kids, of our students, of the participants. That's the message, right? And you know, we really want to make sure that is the continued message, that we care about the safety of our students and the health of our students. So whatever that might look like, I believe now we are really in a hurry up and wait situation where there's so many what ifs, like Marlu so eloquently put it. There's so many uncertainties at this time. And I know, Kristen, there's a big board meeting tomorrow with the Board of Trustees. We're waiting for the governor. We're waiting for so many directives of what it looks like. And of course, with the run, 8,000 people, 4,000 runners, kids on buses. And the other concept, the other component of it is most of our school run coordinators, and that's 100 or so, 100 plus school run coordinators are teachers. Their lives are upended. And what is it going to look like for them starting August 10th when school opens up again? And we want to, mitigate what the burden is on them to pull together students for activities. And so I really want to be very cognizant of, like Charles said, we want to stay in sync with the school district, see how we can help pull together our best resources, because we have so many of them. And there are companies and sponsors out there that want to help, and I'm grateful to them. And so, whether we're running for PE or we're running for technology, I think it's, we want to make sure, one, we take care of those teachers. Parents are also concerned, and many of those runners are parents. We want to make sure that they feel like it's safe. And honestly, let's come back bigger than ever next year. Let's reimagine it. Let's come up with something next year that is super, super creative. And then in the meantime, we put our creative heads together to come up with other ways, and discussion with Debbie and Kristen and the folks at the district to find out, the leadership, what is it that we can do to support them in the best possible way with our amazing resources.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? It's an important topic and a kind of a sad one in a way, but there are opportunities out there. So, okay, sensing no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing no opposition, the motion passes. Thank you. Yeah, that's a tough one, darn it. We have 2.07, which is a discussion of the P16 Advocacy Council, and I think Eric will start this off. So Eric?
Sure. I'll also have Joe jump in here, but I want to highlight how great our interns have been this semester. Obviously, the end of the semester has been difficult, but we've been meeting weekly via Zoom, and otherwise Erica has helped us with that. She's actually a private business person that has jumped in to help us, but we're making great strides with some research. With that being said, it's a continuation of what we've talked about before, where we found comparative school districts in order to allow us to continue to compare. When we weren't able to sometimes get the data, we use other national criteria like the NAEP scores. And anyway, it's interesting seeing there'll be some recommendations that are listed as, I call them planted seeds, or hopefully we can plant seeds and then we can look at future research projects. But anyway, with that, I'll let Joe talk. And again, Aaron Higgs and Jacqueline, they have been just awesome. So I want to thank you and R for helping us with getting those interns.
Okay, thanks, Eric. I'll just add to that a little bit. And I'd also like to reiterate thanking Erica Gillette and Aaron Higgs and Jocelyn Canfield. Aaron and Jocelyn were two interns from the UNR-PAC internship program. So Jill Tolles sent out an announcement of a Nevada Legislative Committee on Education meeting last week. And I jumped in on that, or attended that virtually with a lot of interest, because one of the presentations was from Education Week's assistant director of the research program there. Every year they come out with a report called the Quality Counts Report. And it compares the states according to their educational performance. And once again, Nevada is at the bottom or near the bottom in that report. So that sort of something we always know about. But it turns out that Ed Week report is something that we've been looking at very closely in P16 as one of these comparison studies that has national recognition. And so this Ed Week report that was given at this legislative committee sort of reiterated that Nevada is at or near the bottom in terms of the performance on the NAEP scores and the AP performance. And also the P16 Council has been looking very closely at the performance on the ACT. And one of the things that, just to give you a little taste of the research that you'll see maybe in August, I think, is that when you look at things like school financing, student-teacher ratios, family structure, ethnicity, all of those things are relatively weakly correlated with student performance. What we're finding is by far and away the strongest things that correlate with student performance are parent income and especially parent education. Nevada is at the bottom in terms of the fraction of parents that have a college degree. And so just looking at that explains a lot. Our research shows that there's very strong correlation between parent education and the performance on these standardized tests. And so that, I think, is something that we can look very closely at and develop recommendations from that strong correlation. So you'll see that one of the things that P16 or this working group has been thinking hard about is parent university as an opportunity to provide some help for the parents in the school district to help them perhaps guide their students in ways that parents who have college education might do that. And so at our last P16 Council meeting, we had a presentation from Delissa Crane, I believe Maria Hernandez is her name, that oversee Parent University, and they gave us a lot of good information about how that's working. We have some thoughts about perhaps alternative modes of delivery or expanding that program might be recommendations that the Ed Alliance could pursue in the future. So just sort of whetting your thirst for what you might see in August from this white paper that we are trying to get completed.
Thank you, Joe and Eric. Any questions for either of them?
I will add real fast, Dave. Joe, excellent statements in there. And I did understand I was breaking up, so I apologize if I did. I'm on county Wi-Fi and I don't know what else to do on it. Anyway, on the parent university, I think what's critical to note is they were very satisfied with the people that they were reaching, but they were very receptive, it sounded like, of other ideas and options of how data can be looked at for them. So anyway, that's something we'd like to explore, and maybe something as simple as, you know, they continue with everything they're doing, but maybe we can help with like a YouTube type video that parents could pull up at any time and look at, depending on their busy schedules, you know, something like that.
And one more thing I'll add to that, in the past, Ed Alliance's involvement in Parent University is sort of focused on the exit from the pipeline, looking at high school graduates or nearing students near graduation and getting them into a career or getting them into college or higher ed. Our research shows that the correlation, the student performance correlation with parent education is already very strong at the 4th grade level. So getting started early with Parent University seems to be a very productive strategy. The existing Parent University, I don't want to minimize how well they are doing. They are doing a great thing, but we might be able to build upon that foundation.
Okay, again, thank you all. That's you know, P16 Council just brings a lot of great information and keeps us informed and brings out new ideas, involves people outside of our board in the process, and I think that's all very positive. So any other questions or comments?
This is Natha. I do have a question. On the P16 council, is there anybody that is currently from the pre-K that is a parent, either in pre-K or K, that's a parent of somebody under the age of 8, let's say? Is there anybody that's currently on that council?
Tina Springmeyer sits on that council, but not actively. She receives all of the invitations and so forth, and she's the head of our, I'm struggling with the name, but it is the early childhood, right?
Just because I think what you bring up is such an important piece of information that we need to do something to help our parents at an earlier time frame be involved at the parent university. And so possibly just that discussion of how to do that is just a thought of trying to get somebody involved in that. I'm more than happy to ask my members from WEA if you'd like me to, but the only issue is what would I ask? Hey, if you've got a child under the age of 8 and would like to be part of this, this is something we're discussing or something like that. I think it's really important that we start expanding to that younger age parent as well.
And Natha, I may have misrepresented a little bit, because what we didn't get from the presentation is really a clear picture of what the content spectrum is currently in Parent University. So there may be some piece early, elementary or even preschool content to that. I don't know. What I was saying was that in the past, when Ed Alliance participated, we kind of focused on the exit and not earlier in the pipeline. So one of the things we need to do is really analyze what's being done in Parent University now, because we're not completely up to speed currently with what's being done.
Joe, this is Deborah. I think we had followed up, Kendall, did we not, with a list of
courses,
the complete courses. But what I remember too, Nathan, I don't know if this answers your question, likely not, but Maria and Delisa and Maria very much want to continue to expand. Well, they want to meet the needs of our families, of our parents, and the courses that are most appropriate. And then heading into next school year with what we've learned from recent closures, Parent University, I mean, they're working hard to fine tune, I guess, maybe the courses that they offer to better address some of the things that we learned through distance learning. Again, I don't think specific to what you're talking about with early childhood and that, but I can certainly too reach out to Tina and talk with Tina and maybe kind of see where Tina and Delisa, who I know work together, but if there's kind of more work being thought about in the early childhood kind of parent pipeline that you talk about. May I also add, so in the past, this past year, P16 has also talked about the school district looking forward to the creation of a new strategic plan. And I certainly don't want to put Kristen on the spot here, but I can share that in addition to tomorrow's big board meeting on Friday, there's also a board work session to start work on what we're calling a bridge document that will take us from Envision 2020, which is done here just next week, the end of the current school year, to the 21-22 school year, and giving us this next school year to build up to the new strategic plan. So our board has had some conversations about it. It's going to dive deeper into that work on Friday at a board session that has been scheduled. Kristen, I don't know if you maybe want to add to that.
Sure. So obviously we know that Washoe County School District Envision 2020 is coming to an end for this year, just as Debbie was talking about. And so we need to have a document, and we're just referring to it for ease of understanding, a bridge document. We all know, those of you that have been around for a while, the enormous lift that it takes in order to put a strategic plan together. And so the feeling is that during this unusual time of 2021, that there is a lot of stress right now on the system, and going out for the revision of an entire strategic plan would probably not be in the best interest of the community and staff in order to garner the type of input that we would want to do for a strategic plan. There's, like I said, a lot of stress on the system right now. And so putting together a bridge document, which speaks to each one of the 5 goals, as far as academic achievement, human capital, community engagement, transparency and efficiency, and school safety, including social emotional aspects, that right now the leadership team is in the midst of going through all of the metrics that we present to the trustees, developing a reporting schedule. And then what we will present at this work session on Friday is a template that would look at each one of those 5 goals. Then we will come back in July with a more detailed aspect of what each one of the chiefs and leadership team members feels would be appropriate metrics going into 2021. And that also means removing metrics that no longer make sense or don't really show the data that we need to show as far as student achievement. And so this is the first work session that we're having. And then the last item on, so the first item is around the superintendent's, partly the interim superintendent's evaluation for 1920, because that has to be completed by December by my contract. And looking at some areas that we could look at for a kind of a bridge evaluation, then the bridge strategic plan. And then the last item on the work session is around what we have called, and I think you all have had a couple of presentations, what's called a portrait of a graduate or a profile of a graduate. We were set to have a presentation to the board last July of 2019. And for obvious reasons that did not get off. And so we are bringing that to the board in a work session this Friday to talk around how we feel that developing a profile of a graduate really lays out the pathway and competencies for what a graduate needs to exit the Washoe County School District. And so this is the very first discussion, the very first orientation of what a profile of a graduate, and then taking that work and then basing our new strategic plan as we go into the planning part for 2021, that we would develop the strategic plan around what that profile would need. And then you take your profile of a graduate, you take your strategic plan and its goals, once those are completed, and then you start building your budget off of where your goals are coming from. And so resource allocation is actually based on the strategic plan of the organization. And so that is part of our work session, an extremely fun-filled day on this Friday.
Important day.
Thank you very much for that report. That's great.
And that's probably more than you guys really wanted to know, but happy to share.
No, it's good to know. Very good to know.
All good information. That's great.
We'll just be looking forward, Kristen, to knowing how we can help you through this bridge year and beyond as a board.
Absolutely.
Well, if you all have, a couple $1 million laying around, we could definitely use that. And I see the lovely Assemblywoman Jill Tolles smiling, and see absolutely, and Natha, everybody knows what I mean.
We'll get working on that.
See what I've got down there. All right. Thank you all very much.
Okay, one other P16 point to make.
Go ahead.
And that's one of the initiatives that we're working on is looking at where are there other districts that face similar challenges that might be doing better, and what can we learn from them? And I think given the research that we've received, largely we see districts where parents are not don't have as much education, et cetera. That's something that appears to be largely out of the school district's control in some ways. Parent University is certainly one example where we can help there, but we're hoping to find other examples from around the country where maybe there's some things that other districts in similar positions are doing, something that we might learn from. So that's we'll be looking into that as we head into the rest of the year.
Okay,
If I may jump in, thank you so much, Joe, for watching and following those links, and anyone else who jumped in. And you're always welcome to watch all of our education interim committees as well as our in-session committees. And if you just go to the legislative website, which you can Google Nevada Legislature, it'll take you there, but it's leg.state.nv.us. We archive all of the video, so you can go back if you miss it. We also archive the minutes, and we also have links to all of the presentations. And so that's what I wanted to make sure that all of you had at your disposal, because it's a quick way to go back through and look at those presentations. And so specifically on that Education Week presentation, I just you can go on the meeting packet and pull that up. And I wanted to take just one moment to highlight something, because I think we spend a lot of time talking about being at the bottom, and I think it's really, really important that we don't contribute to the message of only ever pointing out some of those rankings and not the rankings where we've improved. So since 2003, we have improved 10.9 score points on high school graduation. We are at number 2 in the country in improvement. Since 2003 in 8th grade reading, we've added 7.5 points to our score, and we're now 7th in the nation in improvement as a state. And 4th grade reading, 7.9% or 7.9 points in improvement. We're 8th in the nation ranked for improvement in our 4th grade reading. And we gained 7.3 points in our 8th grade math, putting us at 15th in the nation. And so I know that, you know, NATHA, other teachers are on here, legislators who were here before I was, governors who were here, you know, people who have fought hard for those gains. And I just think it's so incredibly important that we stop periodically and we acknowledge that there are things that we have done, that we've invested time, blood, sweat, and tears. Education Alliance has been part of that. Everything that you guys do to help make sure that kids don't drop out, that we don't lose them through, you know, the cracks, and that we are providing laptops and textbooks and PE programs and resources are part of what I think does make up that gap. That it's just important to be proud of that and to stop and recognize that, because I sense sometimes that our teachers and our families and even our students get beat up, you know, just feeling like, oh, it's never enough. And then it's hard for me to go to, you know, the people in the public and say, no, you're not giving, you know, good money after bad. You're giving good money after good. You're giving good money after gain. And, you know, and that's what we're here for. And we need to stop and celebrate those moments. And so I just want to make sure that I point that out.
Thank you. Thank you, Jill, for that positive enlightenment. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Great. Any other comments?
I just have a brief one. I just want to say, we may not have a couple million in a bag laying around, Kristen, but I want to thank Eric and everyone on this board. We're a 100% giving board, which really sends a message that we're committed to what we do. And Eric, he paid for half of an intern. I mean, so many of you have done so much to make sure that the Education Alliance is a strong, healthy organization. And we want to continue with that support. And we stand ready to support our teachers, our principals, our students, our schools, however we can in so many different ways. We're creative, we're nimble, which is my favorite word, and Debbie. So anyway, I just wanted to make that final comment.
Thank you. And Landon, did you have a comment?
No, I had no comment, but I am excited to be part of the executive board here moving forward. So I'm excited for the opportunities and more ways that we can help.
We'll definitely put you to work, Landon.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you all for the report. And our next meeting is going to be August 24th. And so we're looking forward to that. It'll be interesting to see where and how we meet.
Any other public comment?
Yes, any other public comment, Sarah?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. And I did want to say that it's been a delight working with the board that we've had this year. It's just a super group and really dedicated and devoted. So appreciate that. And the staff, they're just phenomenal. It's just been great to work with them. So I'll look forward to seeing you again in August, if not before. And if there's nothing else.
I'll add one last thing, Dave. I just wanted to thank you for your excellent presidency and leadership that you've given us. You're obviously an amazing, dedicated person to the entire community. We're thrilled to get to know you, and wow, I got some big shoes to fill.
Thank you. You're size 13. All right. Well, normally we would adjourn and have a cocktail and a glass of wine and some hors d'oeuvres.
August.
So you're kind of on your own tonight doing that. Kendall, any final words?
Just a big thanks from my heart.
Okay. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks everybody. Be safe.
Yep.
Wash your